Stock car racing is relatively new on the sports scene. Yet the new generation of enthusiasts is well informed. They understand pit stops, caution flags, and other racing terms. Spectators can follow the action in basketball, too. They appreciate the rebounder and cheer a layup. Football fills stadiums on fall afternoons with armchair quarterbacks who have learned to anticipate a pass or an end run. Now there is a new sport, colorful and exciting, to which sports fans have just begun to relate. The spectacular sport of hang gliding. Grandfather Mountain in North Carolina is one of the locations in the United States ideally suited for the sport. Already, its majestic and rugged peaks are world famous among hang glider pilots. Natural beauty is the major attraction at mile-high Grandfather Mountain, and happily, hang gliding complements rather than disrupts the ever-changing scene. Like most men, most animals do not fly, but with animals as with men, nature reserves the delight of flight for those that are willing to adapt to her laws. Flying for fun has top priority. Pilots assess conditions, decide when they're right, then have the thrill of launching into the air. Landing also makes the sport interesting. Quick, accurate decisions must be made every time because landings can go either way, rough or beautiful. But the fun of hang gliding for some players means competition from California, Australia, and France. These are the best. What are the rules? How do they win at hang gliding?
Okay, guys, listen up and we'll talk a little bit about the first flight. We'll be going with Group A and we'll be flying the minimum maximum task. You can look in the rule books and find your flying order. I want you to do that now. We'll need you all up there set up in your order and ready to fly.
In hang gliding competition, tasks are assigned to fit flying conditions. And flying from point of launch to a pylon on the mountain is the first part of the minimum time task. If the mirror in the pylon shows the glider circling the pin in the center, the official signals the pilot that he achieved the point and is free to descend to the landing area beside the lake. but in doing so must execute a specified number of 360-degree turns en route. In many instances, making a 360 burns off altitude, and when a flyer fails to make all of the assigned 360s, he receives fewer points than the competitor who does complete them. Another of the tasks used in hang gliding meets is the duration flight time task. The duration time task is reluctantly used when flying conditions are not good enough to permit pilots to round the more challenging courses which require altitude gain. Oops, he missed a pylon. The judge knows it too. This means that to avoid being disqualified, the pilot must circle the pylon again and this time not cut it so close. These colorful dogfights make the sport of hang gliding one of the most exciting of all spectator sports the moment the spectator understands how it is scored and what to look for in good flying. During competition, days that hang glider pilots like best are those when wind conditions call for the altitude gain task. This pilot missed the pylon. The official must sight the pilot's body above the horizontal line as the glider passes the altitude gain pylon 500 feet higher on grandfather than the point of launch. When pilots lose altitude after launch, it takes skillful flying to regain it. Often, glider pilots can soar where a raven soars, for ravens always seem to know where thermal air currents are cooking. The altitude gain task is the ideal test of both a pilot and his glider. And when soaring conditions are right, everyone in the competition gets a fair chance. Climbing out, a favorite term for riding the thermal air current. There is nothing in hang gliding that a pilot had rather do. Here we see Mike Degtoff way below the point of launch. But he catches a rising thermal and gains back the lost altitude, plus much more. One glider is definitely below the pylon, while the other pilot is happy to be safely above, ready to fly to the next pylon. The landing judge is on top of it, and the scorer knows which one completed the course in the best time. The trend in today's championship is to pit two flyers against each other, called one-and-one competition. One pilot launches first, and the second launches from the identical site a prescribed number of seconds later. The best launch situation of all, however, is one-on-one, where two gliders launch simultaneously from side-by-side ramps. It is fair for both competitors because both are flying in the same conditions. Spectators can follow the action better too when two pilots depart at the same time and have the same maneuvers to complete before they reach the landing area. These advantages make it certain that one-on-one is here to stay. Glider pilots are privileged to enjoy the unspoiled beauty of great flying sites around the world from a unique perspective. Here, Gerard Thévenot, distinguished European champion, celebrates the joy of flight with a series of 360s above Grandfather Golf and Country Club. Is the name of this game, which demands quick reflexes and coordination and helps pilots pass the time between rounds. Circuit-riding preacher gives the invocation for Grandfather Mountain's Masters of Hang Gliding Championship.
May God protect each of you flying in this meet.
The word is go again. The weather looks good. It's time to haul up and set up. The wind is blowing straight in. Top competition pilot Jeff Burnett is ready. Quickly, he is soaring above the slinging bridge. These are the conditions that test the skills of the pilots and the capabilities of their gliders. Flyers who do well now rate cheers, and those who don't can be in big trouble. Winds are picking up, but it is no time to hesitate. His buddies yell, "Have a good one," and he's off. Skillful flying is important, but so are landings, which must always be within the designated landing area. A landing earns no points when it is even a few inches short of the prescribed landing zone. Former Masters of Hang Gliding champion Tom Pagini is a flyer from whom almost any pilot could take landing lessons. Landings are one of Pagini's specialties, and when two gliders approach the small landing area at the same time, everybody needs a lesson. The fixed wing glider is of a different basic design than the much more prevalent flexible wing type. Tandem hang gliding, flying with a passenger, is rarely seen. It takes a glider with a large sail surface to support the weight of the second person. Diving it out to prevent a stall is sometimes necessary for a safe cliff launch, and diving it in is sometimes what it takes to avoid overshooting the landing area. The first few seconds following launch usually determine the nature of the flight. Sometimes there is lift, and the pilot can remain aloft for hours. Grandfather Mountain's record duration flight is over 8 hours. On other occasions, a flight may be nothing but a 3-minute sled run directly to the landing field. Frequently, it is the seemingly insignificant details that make a big difference in winning at hang gliding. Slick-soled shoes, for instance, can cause the pilot to slip on landing and lose points. Being outside the landing area means no landing points at all. The numbers of motorized hang gliders, also called ultralights, have greatly increased, and some pilots fly both the traditional hang gliders and the motorized craft. Each has its obvious advantages. The motorized glider comes into its own in level terrain that offers no high vantage points from which to launch. Those who fly both say the silence of the non-motorized glider possibly provides a more restful and relaxed flying. Both motorized and non-motorized are now established, and there seems to be a place for both. The supporters of traditional hang gliding do not view motors as a threat to their sport, noting that today the sport of sailboating flourishes more than ever, while the sport of powerboating thrives as well. And when it comes to hang gliding competitions, they believe that pure flying skills, or a lack thereof, will always be best displayed in the sport's non-motorized categories. Gliders now are more airworthy than the first days of the landmark development of Francis Rugallo's wing. The sport has subjected itself to strict self-discipline through the United States Hang Gliding Association and the Hang Glider Manufacturers Association. Structurally, today's craft are more sound, and the overall glider performance has been greatly enhanced. The vast improvement in glider equipment and pilot confidence in it has led to an increase in stunts like David Ledford picking up a $1 bill from a friend on the launch platform. Only the most experienced of hang glider pilots have any business at all doing aerobatics. Steve Moyes is an expert who knows the limits beyond which aerobatics are unsafe. And another true wizard is Rob Kells. Not content with steep wingovers, Kells does loops, which until recently were thought to be impossible to execute without having the glider break up. Loops and wingovers still create the possibility, if not the likelihood, of a disastrous stall. If a stall occurs, the situation can quickly go from bad to worse. Should the pilot become tangled in the sail, wires, and tubing, the glider then could not be righted. It could only crash to the ground. An annual championship featuring aerobatics is held at Telluride, Colorado, where the flying and the scenery are equally spectacular. Each aerobatic competitor files a flight plan, and judges award points for effectiveness in carrying out the daring planned maneuvers. But plans can go astray. Here's David Ledford at the American Cup in Chattanooga. The glider stalls. Tumbles out of control. Starts breaking up. Dave deploys his parachute. Miraculously, the chute doesn't tangle in the glider. David floats to Earth safely. He will always remember coming out of this one.
Watch a slow motion version of what happened to me. Here's a freeze frame of the terrible moment when the stall came. The tumble started and all I could see was ground, sky, nothing else. I knew that there was some way that I had to deploy my chute, and I did. It was a terrific relief, and it didn't tangle around the revolving glider. I was plenty lucky. It has scared me more to watch these films than when it actually happened.
There is no question hang gliding is a spectator sport, and one-on-one competition is easy to follow and understand. It has a charm and excitement that makes it pleasingly different from any other competition. The unexpected always lurks just a moment away. For those brushing up on hang gliding language, here is what is called an unsafe landing. A good hang gliding meet has direct similarities to any other well-run sporting event. It has contestants who are the best in their classification. There are also rules and officials to administer them. A tense one-on-one hang glider battle is not unlike two leaders in a golf championship approaching the 18th green tied at 10 under par. Something has to give. Somebody is going to win. It churns the stomach to watch it happen. As hang gliding entered its second decade, Tom Haddon was United States national champion. No two pilots can be measured by the same yardstick. But what is Tom Haddon like? A college graduate, confident and articulate, he is taught hang gliding. He has worked in hang glider manufacturing plants, and he knows the equipment upon which life depends. Tom has flown in the Masters of Hang Gliding Championship at Grandfather Mountain, and he has been its meet director. Above all, Tom Haddon is a man who loves to fly.
Valid hang gliding contests should test the skills we use in everyday flying, including soaring, flying for distance, and safe and accurate landings. Finishing order for 5 of the 6 top winners in a recent Masters Championship was determined by landing points. Landings can be extremely important.
Two gliders side by side flying against each other. This is understood by everyone, flyers and spectators alike. Rules for hang gliding meets in years gone by had been obscure. The contestants themselves did not know who was winning until after the contest ended. The excitement was less when it was not known whether it was a tightly contested horse race or not. Things are different now. One-on-one has changed it. It is here, as the competition nears its climactic finish, that one man's mistake will catapult the other man ahead. The pressure of competition, of being in the lead, sometimes nudges a pilot into a decision that is a serious mistake. John Davis was leading the Masters at the beginning of the day, but at the end, luckily, he missed the pavement. It could have been costly.
I think he's all right.
Those last seconds remaining in the air longer than an opponent can cause a pilot to overshoot a landing. And missing the landing means no landing points at all. Welcome back, John Davis. You're a lucky man, and you know it. These are the maneuvers of the pilots who are winning at hang gliding. They are a bold, talented, and resourceful lot, willing to take their chances when the pleasures of their sport are so unbelievably rewarding. They have come to Grandfather Mountain every September from all over the world, the hang gliding champions of many countries, to see who really is the best. 3 years in a row, Steve Moyes of Australia took on all comers at the Masters of Hang Gliding Championship. Head on against the best, Steve Moyes was 3 times victorious. There were many excellent flyers in all of those 3 contests, and those who saw them perform knew they were the cream of the crop. Landing by United States champion Eric Raymond. The flying was beautiful. But one of the most spectacular flying exhibitions ever was Steve Moyes manipulating a breathtaking final 360 below the treetops to win one of his 3 Masters of Hang Gliding Championships. It was almost impossible to believe the daring and the skill the Australian had shown. Steve Moyes won it fair and square. Lurking somewhere may be a more profound moral to the Steve Moy story. The moral most apparent, however, is that after victory, as you ride on shoulders of people you think are your close friends, be absolutely certain you can swim. Winning at hang gliding is presented in behalf of the sport of hang gliding by Wrangler